Hello everybody, welcome back to another F1 video. Logan Sargent has now officially re-signed for Williams F1 team, which means every single seat in F1 has been taken going ahead into the 2024 season. What does that mean? I'm going to be giving my honest review on which driver duo from worst to best. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Number 10, which is the Haas duo of Hülkenberg and Magnussen. Now, a lot of you will be saying that's harsh. I even thought it was harsh, and I think I would have said differently last season. But the reason is, I think every other team has great drivers at the minute. Like, it's actually really hard. Even some teams who have worse drivers get carried hard, Aston Martin, by their first driver. And I think Hülkenberg and Magnussen are just two bang average drivers. Now, Magnussen worse than Hülkenberg. I think Hülkenberg's one of the most underrated drivers because I think he is like an average sort of driver, but people never really talk about him. Then Magnussen, he's okay, but I've never really thought Magnussen was anything other than a midfield driver. So two bang average drivers, that's why they go 10th. Then next up in 9th is the AlphaTauri duo. And by the way, that just shows how good this grid is because Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo being 9th, even when I'm saying it, is crazy. But hear me out. Right, Ricciardo, he's been okay, yes, but remember his McLaren form. I still haven't seen him in a good car pull the results he has done from back in like 2018. So I'm still a bit on Ricciardo at the minute because I really don't know if he actually is that good. And same with Yuki Tsunoda. I think Yuki Tsunoda is great, but he's not as good as some of the other younger F1 drivers. So I think, again, Yuki Tsunoda, I think he's good. Ricciardo, very good in his prime. Is he still that good? I haven't seen that yet. So I've just got to put them 9th. I mean, even at 9th, I would not be disappointed with having Ricciardo and Tsunoda in my team. And then in 8th position, I have put Alfa Romeo. Now, I really did think, was I going to put Alfa Romeo or AlphaTauri here? It was really close between both Alphas, spelt differently though. And the reason I put this forward is because Bottas, another very underrated driver. Yes, he could never beat Hamilton, but I don't think Ricciardo would have been able to. And I think Ricciardo's form versus Bottas's form, I think Bottas has still got it. He's still consistently beating Zhou year out, the 2 years that he's been at Alfa Romeo. And same with Zhou. I think Zhou's on a similar level to Tsunoda. I actually think he's a little bit worse than Tsunoda. However, I do the matchup, and I think Bottas better than Ricciardo. Tsunoda only a little bit better than Zhou, so Alfa Romeo come out on top. Very close though between them. What do you guys think in the comments down below? But yeah, I think Bottas has still got it. He showed from last season, especially that Qatar race, he's still got it. And Zhou, you never know where Zhou could be in a few years, but I think in a few years he will be definitely in a better car than the Alfa Romeo. Now, moving on to the 7th best duo, and it is the Williams duo. Now, this is one of the teams where someone is pulling the other person down. Albon. Last season, like I said, I think I would have put Albon and Sargent because obviously Sargent being a rookie was a big unknown, and we still hadn't seen as good of a season as Albon had this year at the Williams last year as the worst duo, because obviously Albon had that terrible form at Red Bull, and obviously that was fresh in our minds. However, he's just proven us wrong with how good he's been in that Williams. So I expect to see exactly the same from Albon next season, hopefully some more if Williams are even better. Now Sargent, I just think he's quite poor. I think he's one of the worst drivers on the grid, but he has room to learn. But he definitely pulls down Albon, which is the reason why Williams can only be 7th in my driver rankings. Now in 6th place, and in similar fashion, you have the Aston Martin boys. Now, it's the same situation, but slightly better. I think Sargent and Stroll, two worst drivers on the grid at the minute. Hard to say who's worse because Stroll is bad, but he actually seemed like he was getting better over the last few races of the season. Alonso, it's such a shame for him being 6th best driver duos because put anyone else in that car, example Hülkenberg, then that's a top 4 driver duo. Put Albon in that car, put Norris in that car, put Verstappen in that car, put Leclerc, put Sainz, put Hamilton, put Russell, put Bottas, and you have the best duo on the grid. Facts. But Stroll really just lowers them down. So Aston Martin 6th place. Now in 5th place, I have the Alpine duo. Another highly underrated duo in my opinion. Pierre Gasly doesn't get spoken about enough how good of a season he had in 2023. And same with Esteban Ocon. Now I know a lot of people don't like Ocon. I mean, I have nothing against him. He's just never been a driver I've really been interested in. But both of them really doing well in that Alpine, considering that wasn't the best car. And they were sort of in no man's land, so they sort of went unnoticed throughout the season. They picked up a few podiums as well, which I thought was fantastic from the car they had. So I definitely think an underrated duo. And I think 5th place for them is quite respectable, considering the drivers I'm about to talk about. In 4th place, which is going to get a lot of people stirring, I will say, is Red Bull Racing. Now, same situation as Aston Martin, but slightly better. That's why they're in 4th. Verstappen, boom. Put Norris with him, best duo. Put Hamilton with him, best duo. Put Alonso with him, best duo. I would even go as far as saying the Russells, the Piastris, the Ricardos. Man, let's not say Hülkenberg this time because I've never seen him in a good car, so I don't want to stretch out that far. I just think Perez really hampers Red Bull. Yes, he got 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. With that car, which was insane, should have been getting more. And now, Perez isn't a bad driver per se, because I would still have him over about, I'd say, 9 or 8 of the drivers on the grid. However, when you're the best team on the grid, you need to have the best drivers. And Perez just isn't that. So, Red Bull Racing, 4th place. Now, in 3rd place, funnily enough, showing obviously that I've got no bias because I would have put them higher if I did, is the McLaren duo. I actually think, this is crazy coming from a McLaren fan, they are the most overrated duo. Now, Norris is fantastic. We know what he can do. But recently, every time he sort of has like a qualifying lap he can do well on, or has a race he could do well on, he bottles it. And now he's not bad, because we know he's so consistent, getting so many podiums last season and showing how much pace he's got. And I love Norris. And he's one of the best drivers on the grid. But he just isn't with the Verstappen, Hamiltons or Alonso's yet. He's still in that like mid-good tier because he does tend to bottle it quite a bit. Not so much with Piastri. Piastri is pretty decent, but he's still a rookie. And again, I think people are overrating Piastri a little bit too much. Now, he had a good season, but when you look at the points, he was very far off Norris. Now, again, Norris had an amazing season, and it is Piastri's rookie season, but you can't be putting Piastri as one of the best drivers on the grid when I'm saying Norris isn't, and there's that much of a points difference, so that's why I'm putting them 3rd. Now, the battle for 1st place was quite a hard one for me. However, I've gone for Mercedes in 2nd place. Now, the reason for this, Hamilton, of course, like Verstappen, he's the dog's bollocks. 7-time world champion. Everyone would want Hamilton in their team. Now, Russell, I think he's being overslated as well. One of the other underappreciated drivers at the minute. He had his worst season in F1 so far, and he still only was like 30 points behind Norris, Alonso, Leclerc. Considering the season he had and the Mercedes where it was, I think it was a bad season, but it's not as bad as everyone has been saying. I still think he's a decent driver. I really do full-heartedly believe he's better than Perez, and for now he's better than Piastri, which is the reason why Mercedes are 2nd. Piastri, like I've said, because he's a rookie, and Perez, I just don't think he's that good. He's another, like, I think, good midfield driver. But obviously that means I have put Ferrari as the best duo, and I really do think this is true, which will be such a shame if they do shake it up in the next few years. Because Sainz, I know Ferrari haven't treated him the best, but Sainz is such a good driver, so consistent. That's the thing you get with Sainz, you get consistency, like we've seen this season. Leclerc, he's a bit more up and down, but he does get a lot more unlucky. Leclerc is one of the best drivers on the grid. I would put him with the Verstappens, Alonsos, Hamiltons, and Leclerc. I think they're the top 4 drivers in F1. I also think Sainz is better than Russell and Piastri, and Perez, which is why Ferrari go top. When you do a head-to-head between those two, maybe Leclerc's not as good as Verstappen or Hamilton. However, they both equal out because Red Bull, like I've said, they're slanted because they've got Verstappen to Perez. Hamilton to Russell, I still think is worse deficit than Leclerc and Sainz. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I have no idea what I'm going to be making for another video, considering it's now the F1 break, but I'm sure I'll think of something to make. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all later on whenever I make a new video.